Welcome, everybody, to the Tea with Ms McGill Show, fueled by our friends over at Blue Line Brews, episode 34, coming at you here in just a second. Real quick, word from our partners over here at Blue Line Brews. Once again in northern Minnesota, tomorrow night, 30 below wind chills. Been getting the warnings all day long on the weather app. So what you're going to want Thursday and then into Friday morning is some hot coffee. BlueLineBrews.com is where you get that coffee. Or if you live on the Iron Range, Twin Ports, northern Wisconsin, Bemidji, be watching for it. The packaging will look something like this. As always, 10% of their profits go back to men and women who are injured or have fallen in the line of duty. K-Cups are in. Please check out their social media pages. Give them a like. They've always got some updates on looks at the social media pages. So it is time right now to give Blue Line Brews a try. I am Puka. This is Reed Larson, and welcome to another week, Reed, of Tea with Ms McGill.
Should be a good one. We've got some good hockey to talk about since the last episode. Good games that took place in the last week. We've got some games to preview or game to preview to look forward and talk a little bit about the seeding and the playoffs coming up here for boys high school hockey. So this should be a good one here, and people should be excited here as we start to wrap up the regular season for high school hockey and start staring down the playoffs.
Absolutely. And I want to circle back here a little bit. Save 15 is a promo code for BlueLineBrews.com. So at checkout, type in the promo code SAVE 15. You'll save 15% on your entire order. All right, let's not start with hockey. Let's actually start real quick with the Super Bowl. Did you get to catch it?
I did. I watched the Super Bowl. I was in and out of watching the Super Bowl the whole time. It seemed like it was a fun game to watch. It seemed at times that I got a little bit more into the commercials for a little bit, but then came back to the game and it was exciting. So off and on, like I said, I was in and out watching the Super Bowl. Both teams, I thought, deserved the opportunity to be world champs, but ultimately I think the right team won. I think the team that was bred and built to be champions, which was the LA Rams, it was set to be in LA. They knew it was going to be there, just like they did the year before. It was set to be in Tampa Bay. It was built to be there so the home team could win it. That was kind of set up again this year. I think everybody knew that LA had the opportunity to win a world championship. So, but I really thought the Bengals had an opportunity there that was, somewhat missed at the end of the game.
Yeah, they impressed a lot of people this year. Imagine putting a few bucks on the Bengals in Vegas a year ago. Well, you had to be one of the most excited people in the USA because that was definitely a Cinderella story. Thumbs up or thumbs down to the halftime show. There's been a lot on social media. It seemed like it was either love, hate, nobody in between.
Can I go half and half? Can I say I liked the first two performers and didn't really give a crap about the rest? I liked Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Everybody else.
Wow, so you're one of the few people in the middle because there's a social media which says, "Oh, I loved it." Other people, God, this is horrible. Can we get somebody like whoever, Rolling Stones back in here? So that was kind of interesting to watch.
Well, Eminem has been in a Super Bowl before, and I got to tell you, the first time he did it, when you had I don't even remember what year it was, but you had all the Slim Shadys coming out onto the field with their white T-shirts on, and coming out there and. The real Slim Shady. That was the real Slim Shady. This isn't even the real Slim Shady that was out there. It didn't even sound like him. It didn't even, I don't know. I can't stomach watching or listening to Eminem for more than 5 minutes because then I get angry just like he is.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to some hockey here. Starting out, we'll go back to last week, a game that I previewed, Rock Ridge at Proctor. We knew this was a big one, talking about Rock Ridge having their destiny in their own hands, getting hot at the end of the year. So they show up at Proctor, throw 42 shots on. They outshot them 42-28. A big 7-A win for Rock Ridge. With 45 seconds to go, the big senior and captain, Nick Troutwine, netted his second goal of the night to steal the win down in Proctor. And on a side note, just wanted to, Nick Troutwine actually leads the team in goals at 14, and he's a defenseman.
Yeah, he's a heck of a player, and he's one of the three that wears the C on his jersey there. The Eveleth product, we can still say that because some of these kids hail from Eveleth, some hail from Virginia, some are Wasabi East, some are Mountain Iron, and people still, identify by, well, this is an Eveleth kid. He is an Eveleth kid, but they are together now. Just remember that when we start talking about Rock Ridge, this is one team now, but he is from the Eveleth side of things, and he's a fantastic defenseman. I actually watched or called a game a few weeks back when we were over there at the new Iron Trail Motors Arena in Virginia when it was Rock Ridge versus International Falls, and I was very impressed with Trouty. He's a heck of a defenseman. So good for them, and a nice W. It seems to me that 42-28 shots at Proctor in Rock Ridge's favor, and not surprised that it was a tight one. When you see what kind of goaltending they have in Proctor right now, they got a really, really good problem. They've got three really good goalies there. So I'm not 100% sure who was in the net, if it was Sam Johnson or Imhoff or if it was AJ Routs. I'm not sure, but if any one of those guys was in the net, it doesn't matter. They're all quality.
Okay. Yeah, and it was a 2-1 win. I forgot to say that. And yeah, I don't know exactly who was in nets. But you had your eyes last week on, are they St. Thomas Cadets, correct? They came up to paid a visit up to Grand Rapids. I think first time ever. I was listening to the coach, the pregame interview. I think first time that St. Thomas has maybe ever come north of Duluth.
Yeah, you know what? That's pretty awesome to have St. Thomas Academy in the building, and good for them for it to be the first time that they've ever come into the building. I'm sure. We grew up here, Puka. We've been in these rinks. We've been up in the Falls. We've been in the Memorial Arena. We've been in the old Brie Cupoletti Arena in Virginia. And of course, the IRA Civic Center and the Snake Pit. These rinks up here, they don't have those like that down in the cities. There's one rink in the cities that people know or remember, maybe two, Aldrich Arena and Braemar. They know those rinks, but the other ones, they're just cookie cutters. Nobody cares. They all look the same. But when you come in from down in the cities and you haven't been up here in the area where hockey was basically built in the state, you go into the old rink like the IRA Civic Center, it's like, wow, this is awesome. They were pretty excited to be in the building, pretty excited to play there. It worked out well for the varsity that night for the Thunderhawks. They came out with the win. The JV came out with an overtime loss. That happens, but at any rate, it was, or not overtime. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the next night. We ended up with a 3-1 loss. It was an open netter goal, but it was a 1-goal hockey game. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to have the Cadets in the building. They are a solid hockey team whose record does not reflect the kind of season they're having. They actually handed 2 losses to the number 1 rated team in the state this year. They did beat Cretin Durham Hall both times they played them, and Cretin is ranked number 1 right now. So there's something to be said about what their abilities are and how capable they are of contending. And that's going to be 1 and 2 in that section. It's going to be Cretin 1 seed and St. Thomas, the 2 seed in their section. So they will get a chance to battle it out one more time in the section tournament.
Yeah, and they actually beat Edina once this year too.
They did. Yep. Yeah. So they
Oh.
can figure out ways to win, and they've got. Actually, it was kind of neat. They have a northern Minnesota connection.
Yeah.
On their team. I mentioned it Saturday afternoon when I was calling the Hermantown St. Thomas Academy, but St. Thomas Academy has a young man by the name of Will Scahan on their team, and he came from Shattuck St. Mary's, but his mom is from Grand Rapids. She's in Edwards, Hillary Edwards. Now Hillary Scahan, her husband, Sean Scahan, is strength and conditioning coach for the Minnesota Wild. He was out strength and conditioning for the Ducks. So they've been out around the NHL a little bit, a couple of different teams, but this is a sophomore that's, 6'3", 6'4", 180-pound sophomore that is the head scouts in the building. Let's just say that, watching him, he's likely going to be gone and out and going to the National Development Program next year as a sophomore, I would think. But kind of cool to have that connection, and I'm sure it was exciting for his mother Hillary to be back in the IRA Civic Center and back up north for a fun game over in Hermantown the next night. So yeah, awesome to have the Cadets around. Obviously, the northern teams got the win in the varsity games. But the Cadet junior varsity team, both nights got the win. Cadets got the win against our JV in Grand Rapids, 3-1, and got the win in overtime over the Hermantown JV. And of course, their head JV coach is Mike Randolph. So I got a chance to coach against Mike Randolph. Actually was pretty excited after the first period. My team was beating Mike Randolph, and into the second period, we were beating Mike Randolph's team. And then in the third, they ramped it up, scored 2 and went up ahead, and then scored an open netter. So let's just say that when Mike Randolph is on the bench, I don't care if he's coaching a JV team. I don't care if he's coaching as an assistant, which he was during the varsity games. Be ready for a structured hockey team that's well-disciplined.
Did you get to chat with him at all?
I did. I had
How's
some really nice conversations. It's kind of funny that, some of the things he said is, the last couple of years in Duluth with the East program were, I think were some tough years. They obviously they were in the state tournament, 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And like they always did, make some runs to the state tournament, but there were some tough years there, and it was kind of tough, I think, on him and his hometown. And he just said how happy he is doing what he's doing. He's living down in the cities at his daughter's house. He's got a big basement that he stays in, goes down there, comes back up for the weekend, stays back in Duluth with his wife. He travels back and forth, but he's staying at his daughter's house, and a huge basement, basically his own space, 4 minutes from the rink. Loves being the assistant coach. He loves working with Trent Eigner. He just said, this is, I couldn't have asked for a better situation. I absolutely love it. And he said, it's nice to be wanted again. And somebody actually, is appreciative of my time and effort that I'll put in for him. So it's nice.
Oh, good. Yeah. So 3-2 Rapids victory. Rapids outshot the Cadets 27-22. One thing I noticed, and you can also comment on here, fans, they were kind of pricks. A lot of elbows, stick work, face-off stuff. St. Thomas, I was a bit surprised because they're supposed to be this military academy. You think of these disciplined people. Maybe it's just because they finally get out and get to throw some elbows. But I wondered if you noticed that, Reed. I also, lastly, I heard the Strobel name. Any idea if that's Mike or Mark's kid?
I didn't dig deep into that. I did see the name, but I did not see whose kid that was, if it was him or who it was. But yeah, no, there was definitely some stick work. I don't know. I didn't hear it from the players in the JV. I didn't see it from those players. They talked about it, I guess, in the varsity locker room, and you'll have that, private school situation. I did like the level of discipline. Being a military academy, I like their discipline, and maybe they are playing out of going to school with daddy's money, but at any rate, maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. It was just something I noticed a little bit. It seemed like, just kind of watch a lot of times the refs looking back, move back. They're chopping sticks right away as soon as they're sitting, as soon as they got together and the refs stop and stuff, you get space out. So that was just an observation I had. All right. Anything else on St. Thomas, Grand Rapids?
Nope.
All right. We'll move on here. Iron Range Apparel, our good partners. You can check out Reed's baseball cap right there over in the Thunderbird Mall in Virginia. The Olympics are going on. I was in Iron Range Apparel the other day, and they have some real beautiful ODR, the ODR line, outdoor rink hockey. The ODR line is exclusively found at Iron Range Apparel, but they have some really cool red, white, and blue, looking like the Olympic jersey. So if you're into that, go over there and grab one of those ODR USA style jerseys. One-stop shop for gifts, and youth hockey and high school hockey playoffs are just around the corner. You want to be looking cool at the rink. You want to be sporting ODR apparel. So get over to Iron Range Apparel, Thunderbird Mall in Virginia. All right, let's move on to some games. Took place this week. Last night in the big Iron Range, or I should say Section 7A, an old Iron Range conference matchup, a current 7A matchup. The 12 and 13 Chisholm Hibbing Blue Jackets ran over to the Hippodrome and ran into the 13 and 10 Rockridge Wolverines. Once again, Hibbing outshoots their opponent 34-27, but it's a 4-0 victory for the Wolverines. So another big one for Rockridge. Second time we're talking about them tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Rockridge has got things moving in the right direction. It's fun to see A program that people at the very beginning of the year were kind of like real high expectations. First couple of weeks didn't look so good. First month, they're like, I don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I remember you and I having these podcasts saying that, hey, people need to just calm down, like relax, allow the culture to set in, allow Coach Johnson and Coach Colby to do their thing. Things will shift. Guess what? It shifted. They're playing good hockey. They're doing what they need to do. It takes time. So people that were a little bit worried, you shouldn't have worried. I told you things are going to shift and things are going to start moving in the right direction. Things over in Hibbing have been good as well too. I know new coaching staff last year with Eric Rewerts and company. They've been doing some good things. But I think you start looking at the depth of that Rock Ridge program. They started getting the goaltending, as of the last 3 to 4 weeks that they really expected at the beginning of the year. A lot of pressure on the Kangas kid early on. Maybe didn't live up to expectations right out of the gate, but he sure as heck is right now. He's starting to do things the right way, starting to stand on his head, and they're coming into the playoffs with lots of confidence with one more regular season game left to play, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. I think Rock Ridge is, aside from Hermantown, which is no surprise to anyone, aside from Hermantown, they're the team to beat in that section.
Well, you mentioned Hibbing there and some good things. So last week we covered them. Outshot Greenway 44-28 or anything, but they put 44 shots on. I can't exactly remember. And they lost, 3-0. They went down to St. Paul Johnson over the weekend. They did win that game. I think it was 6-0. Put 44 shots on again. And then again, outshoot Rock Ridge 34-27. So a little closer, but is that something kind of to build on for the playoffs? At least you're getting some pucks in the net, maybe with a little luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good thing to start looking at the shot clock and thinking, okay, we're getting shots on net, but then you start to evaluate, are the shots that we're putting on net quality? Like, are they coming from the perimeter? Are they coming from the front of the net? Are you throwing it in from the blue line and it's getting to the net? How quality are your shots? If you're getting that many shots on net and you're not, getting pucks behind the goalie, you got to start asking yourself, where are they coming from? You're right now, I got a weird feeling the reason why you're losing with that is you're not getting quality chances inside the house, which is between the dots and in front of the net. They're coming from out, or they're quick shots with no chances for rebounds. So that's going to be concerning for Eric Rewerts, and I think they have to start breaking down how quality are these shots and what can we do? Are we getting traffic in front of the goalie with these shots? Are they one shot and off and rebounds are being directed? Are we tipping and getting, traffic in front of the goalie so he can't see? These are things that I'm sure they're looking for through game film.
All right. So the big matchup in Minnesota's Arrowhead last night took place in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. The Hermantown Hawks paid a visit to the Grand Rapids Thunderhawks. And I think the game pretty much was what everyone expected. Tight, good, a great game.
Yeah, I think that anybody that bought a ticket for that game got their money's worth and then some. I think everybody's expectations of the kind of hockey game that they expected to see was everything they expected to see. I think you saw two teams that were hungry to win a hockey game. You saw talent. You saw gifted hockey players. You saw great goaltending on both sides. You saw penalty shot again. You saw great hockey. Hermantown just outlasted the game with maybe just a little bit more confidence at the end of the game. I mean, you saw a very hungry Grand Rapids team as the game started jumps out to a 2-0 lead. They're utilizing their size, speed, and physicality, which Hermantown can counter with, size and speed, but physicality, they can't. They don't have the strength of the big bodied guys like Rapids does on their third line. So that really bode in the favor of Grand Rapids is that third line and the depth of their third line. And when they play physical, there's not a lot of teams that can compete. But for whatever reason, Hermantown stuck with their game plan. They got down by 2. They kept trying to, fight back. And finally, within the last minute of the second period, they were able to pop one in and split that lead in half to 2-1 before going to the locker room. So, that momentum was taken and brought in the locker room when they were able to score. on some unfortunate bounces if you're a Thunderhawk fan. I mean, the goal they scored in the second period to make it 2-1 was a shot that came from Bo Janzig. It was off the face-off. It was a clean shot to the net. There was traffic in front of the net, and that shot hit Easton Young's stick from Rapids and went into the net. So that was a lucky bounce. And if you are expecting a lucky bounce to go your way off of Easton Young's stick, then that might happen once in about 1,000 times, because usually Easton Young is spot on, and that wasn't his fault. That was just an unlucky bounce off of his stick and a lucky bounce by Bo Janzig. But you got to give Bo Janzig credit. Good things happen when you throw it at the net, right? It might hit someone and go in, and guess what? Last minute or so of the third period, when they're starting to put the pressure on and it's 2-1 and Rapids is still up there, you got their, goalie pulled. They're trying to tie the game up, and guess what? Good things happen when you throw it at the net. And lo and behold, it hit a Rapids player again and went into the net. It actually was missing the net. It was Bo Janzig again shooting the puck, but he shot it. It hit the shoulder of Red Merkwe and then trickled in behind Miles Gunderson. And 2 shots went off a Rapids player and in the back of the net. And you can say, oh, that's just bad luck. Well, you can talk about that bad luck, or you can also say there were a couple of times where they could have called things a goal that maybe weren't, or there are a couple of kind of controversial no goal calls. Just another really exciting.
Another penalty shot in this game, except time it was Rapids shooting. Like last week.
Rapids, Garrett Drotz gets a breakaway in overtime and gets held by George Peterson, pulls him down on a lone break to the net. And of course, referee that called the last penalty shot the week before, Bazelke, calls it again. Penalty shot in front of 3,000 fans at the IRA Civic Center. Why not? Garrett Drotz gives his best effort, but Dan Calloway was able to stuff him on that. And then the momentum shifts. It gets to the end of overtime, and Sammy Sturl takes an interference penalty in front of the Rapids net and puts Hermantown on the power play. And guess what happens when Hermantown goes on the power play? 40% of the time they score when they're on the power play, or almost 40% of the time, about 38% on the power play. So Max Plant comes down on just on a line rush, doesn't get any pressure. He just fires it from outside the left dot. It goes over Miles Gunderson's shoulder. It goes literally right in a little spot here that's about the size of a coffee can that he was able to stuff it into, and wins the game in overtime. So good battle by both teams. I think both teams, should hats off to those teams for playing as well as they did. I think Hermantown stuck to their game. I think they played well for 3 periods. I think Rapids played good for 2.5 periods. And I think they sat on what they thought, okay, we're comfortable and we just don't want to give anything up. And I thought maybe Rapids played a little tentative the last portion of the game.
I even thought, was it St. Thomas or Andover? I kind of thought they got into a little bit of a prevent defense a little bit at the end too. Maybe the last, 5, 6, 7 minutes. I kind of sensed just a little bit too. But watching the Plants real quick here, do you think Zam Plant looked 100% to you?
No, I don't.
No.
I think Max looked pretty good, but Zam was under the weather. There were, I had this comment from the mother of Dominic Thomas before the game. She's friends with Bob Cohn, and they were talking before the game. She says, "Oh, just so you know, there were like 7 or 8 guys that were gone from practice yesterday. There was a little stomach flu going around, and there were 7 or 8 of them that weren't even at practice the day before, and Zam was one of them. And there was still one that was still sick and didn't come to the game that day. I think it was one of the Kalpanen boys. So he wasn't feeling very good. You can tell he wasn't. I don't think he was at the top of his game. He still was one of the best players out there, but he just wasn't at the top of his game. He had chances to score, though. Miles just shut him down.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on that one?
No, I just had a good opportunity before that game to talk with Derek Plant. Derek Plant was in the building. He was standing a couple of rows up on the mezzanine behind his father, Bruce Plant, who was sitting down there at the game watching as well, watching his grandkids play. So it was fun to visit with Derek Plant and talk about, how UMD is doing and how Hermantown's doing, how his boys are doing. He's real proud of his boys that are playing for Hermantown.
Yeah, awesome. It should be. All right, everyone. If you're liking what you're hearing so far, please bang the thumbs up button, or better yet, share the show. Right, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill over in Eveleth, just on from the Hockey Hall of Fame, a place where I spent most of today. Michelle and crew, I was over there for a funeral, so that's where the what do you call that? Reception is the word I'm looking for, was held after. Some great chicken this afternoon, great desserts like bars and cupcakes. It was absolutely fantastic, plus plenty of cold cocktails. However, I stuck with decaf coffee, knowing I had this big show to do with Reed tonight. And so we had a lot of fun there. So great hockey themed atmosphere. And of course, as always, they're serving breakfast now, full bar, full menu, Friday fish fry, and of course, daily specials. So give them a call, 248-8582, or you can order online at the ringsportsbarandgrill.com. Preview time. Getting close, Reed. Next week, playoff hockey will begin, but we still have just a handful of games across Minnesota going on, which will be their last regular season game. Tomorrow night at Rock Ridge, Greenway pays a visit to the Wolverines. And like we've been talking about, the ball kind of in Rock Ridge's court. A real good situation for them if they can knock off the Raiders on home ice heading into playoffs.
Well, yeah. And preview time, and you talked, okay, Puka, you decided you were going to pick Rock Ridge and Greenway, and you were asking me in the pre-show chat, who do you want to preview? And I said, well, I want to preview Rock Ridge and Greenway too. So we're kind of thinking this is the preview game period for the area right now. I'm not going to dig into the Section 7 AA quarterfinal games right now, because those don't ever really seem to amount to too much. There very rarely are there big upsets in that situation where it's considered a big game. Usually that first game is going to end up being anywhere from a 4 to 5 goal spread by the top seed. So there's no sense in us talking about, Andover and who they're going to play in the first round, or, who Rapids, the number 2 seed, is going to play in the first round. Let's forget about it. Let's talk about the final regular season game for Rock Ridge and Greenway, and talk about how this can set them up potentially for a pretty interesting seed. So we kind of took a look at the seeding, and the only reason why I bring up the QRF rating from MinnesotaScores.net is because Section 7 AA uses their rating system in order for the seeding process. But there still are sections out there like Section 7A that vote. But they do use these as a tool. People will show up with this QRF rating saying, hey, this is a QRF, just so you know, going through a mathematical algorithm with different things that are under focus. This is where the computer rating takes it, but let's get everybody else's point of view. When you look at the computer algorithm through Section 7A and the QRF, Hermantown right now with 135 QRF point value is obviously the number 1. Duluth-Denfeld has got a 96.8% or 96.8 points for their QRF rating. Proctor at the number 3 spot has 73.3, and Rock Ridge has 79.6. So if you were using the QRF to use your entire rating system, if you fall within 6 points of the team next to you and you've played them, there's a tiebreaker. So right now the tiebreaker could fall into effect with Proctor and Rock Ridge if they use the QRF. And guess what? Rock Ridge head-to-head, the tiebreaker is their head-to-head, and Rock Ridge just beat Proctor. So that would move them into that 3 spot. But so if it were QRF, that's what they would be sitting at. But it's not the QRF rating they use, they vote. And it was just a week ago that we were talking about Rock Ridge knocking Denfeld off. Denfeld got real high rating because the way they started the season out. The last few weeks have not been good for Denfeld. Rock Ridge has been playing their best hockey. So when you vote for these things, you're voting for the teams that you think are playing their best hockey right now. Who's going to have the best chance to be in that section final game right now? Not who played great back in November and, padded their stats and their record, got 10 wins because they played Sisters of the Blind. You're taking a look at everything, and who's playing the best right now. And right now, Rock Ridge has a really good argument if they can win tomorrow's game against Greenway to be that number 2 seed.
Oh, yeah. 7-3 in their last 10 games. Obviously, they win tomorrow night. It's 8-3 over their last 11. So yeah, and ironically, I believe, because I was at the game at the Snake Pit, I believe their first regular season game for each of them was over at the Snake Pit, Rock Ridge Greenway. Now they're going to finish off the season, ironically, on the bookend here, Rock Ridge Greenway. Comment if you know that for sure, anyone, and comment on kind of.
That is the way the schedule is set up.
Actually,
was the first game of the year at Greenway with Rock Ridge, and the second game of the year was Rock Ridge at Hibbing. Now you look at the second to last game of the year was Rock Ridge versus Hibbing, and the last game is Greenway. So it's the 2 bookends. At the end of the season, they're the same.
Very tidy bookend. So yeah, like I said, feel free to comment if you've got any predictions here on the playoffs, etc. But yeah, we're getting out of crunch time here. Denfeld with a 17-8 record. Anything else on this contest, Reed?
No, just that I think if you're a Rock Ridge fan, and the excitement of a new program and the opportunity to be in a section final for the first time in a really, really long time, for either of those 2 programs that came together, whether you were a fan of the Evelyn Gilbert Golden Bears, Mesabi East Golden Bears, or whether you're a fan of the Virginia MIB Blue Devils. Neither of those teams has been in a section final for quite some time. It has to go back to 2011 since the last time Virginia was in a section final. Because when I was there, my first year was 11-12. We hadn't made it to a section final. The farthest we had made it on was to a semifinal. So they haven't been to a final since 2011. And it's been way longer than that since Evelyn has been to a final. Yeah. So that's pretty cool that they can get to that final. We don't need to talk about who they're going to play. We know who they're going to play already, and that'll be Hermantown.
Well, good luck to the Wolverines. All right, a word from Minnesota Hockey Camps.
Minnesota Hockey Camps, Breezy Point, Minnesota. You can find a decent amount of information now on MinnesotaHockeyCamps.com. They're already starting to fill camps up right now for the summer. If you're looking for a fantastic hockey camp for skill development, check out MinnesotaHockeyCamps.com, the camp where the pros go to train. Like I said, they've got numerous coaches that come in. Some college coaches will come in to coach for the summer. You got junior coaches that'll come in and coach for the summer. You got head coach of the Minnesota Loons, Mike Muller, will be there. You've got former Minnesota Wild and current owner of the camp, Chris Stewart, will be coaching. Craig Larson, head coach of the Northern Lakes Lightning, as well as the general manager of the Minnesota Loons. He's there coaching, has been doing it for umpteen years, coaching at Minnesota Hockey Camps now as a part owner. So great place for you to start looking two times on ice per day, classroom time to hone those IQ things for the game of hockey, as well as dryland. It's a fantastic place for you to train, and actually talk to a former high school classmate of mine who said, "Hey, I think my kid might be thinking about going. He's got a friend that's going to Minnesota Hockey Camps, and I just saw a name of one of the coaches / owners. His name is Craig Larson. Would that be your brother?" I said, "Yes, that is." And if you're making the choice to take your son to that camp, that's one of the best decisions you can make. It's money well spent, and in my opinion, it's money better spent than, spending $3,000 or $4,000 a summer to play on this AAA team and that AAA team. You want to hone up your skills, go to a skills camp like this.
All right, you young athletes, check out Minnesota Hockey Camps. All right, some scores to go over from the past week. Greenway 4, Park Rapids 2. Thief River Falls with a bit of an upset over East Grand Forks, 5-1. Last night, Warroad 5, Bemidji 2. Shogamy with 2 more goals. Giddy up, young man. Roseau 0, Moorhead 4. Sending a big message in Section 8 AA. Mora 8, Ely 4, I Falls 7, North Shore 2. And Walleye Scott from the class of 74 of Edina. Had to get them in again this week because we have one Edina fan. Edina 3, Minnetonka 2. But what do you think about that Roseau Moorhead. A little bit of a shocker.
Not surprised. I'm not
No,
surprised. I just know how. I don't want to say this to sound disrespectful to coaching staff or anybody in Roseau. I just know that it's been new turnover. It's a new coaching staff that's in there, not new to coaching the game, just new as being a head coach at the high school level. But they've got something special that takes place in Moorhead. They've got the Cullen factory coming through there now in their youth hockey program with Matt Cullen running their Bantam team, as well as, they've got a fantastic Pee Wee team coming through. They built the rink there and renovated the Cullen Center. The high school program has been in the state tournament how many times, and of course never won it, but been number 2 a bunch of times. But then you got, just a coaching staff that knows what's going on, and Dave Ammerman, they've got it figured out on how to play the game. And I expect to see Moorhead in the state tournament again. I'm not going to say they're going to win it, because I'd like to think that Grand Rapids has a chance to be in it. And if we play them, then we're going to do the best we can to beat them. So I don't want to say they're going to win it, but I think Moorhead is going to have that section locked up and ready to go.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm taking Roseau. So just to push back a little. So, okay. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. I love it.
We'll keep an eye on that. Last week, maybe we weren't, what would be the word? Maybe we didn't stress enough how rough the Denfeld East game was. And then, of course, the day after we record, there's that video, I believe it was from Fox out of Duluth, of the East player, junior Grady Downs, on one of the McClure boys. So apparently, if you haven't heard, there's been some action taken because he's a minor. It's confidential. Just wondered if you had any comments, Reed. Yeah,
I've got comments. I probably got a lot that are tucked away between my ears that I'm probably going to bite my tongue a little bit. But I actually feel bad for the Denfeld community. I feel bad for the East community. I feel bad for Coach Steve Patosha and what he's had to deal with in the last couple of weeks. And I think, unfortunately, this is just a black cloud that's going to linger over that program. And it's tough to be the head coach of a program when they're dealing with that kind of crud that goes through it. And I feel real bad because there's some friends of mine are on the staff as well too, and Matty Mathias and Dylan Mills. These guys are people that I played with growing up, played against growing up, and I feel bad for their staff that they have to deal with these things. And ultimately they start to look to, if things like this happen, they start to look at the leadership of the team and is it capable. And I hope this doesn't take away from Steve Patosha's ability to coach, because I think he's a good coach. I just think he's had to inherit some people that maybe he didn't have much of a chance to shape. Let's just put it that way. And I think that play that happened, on the side of the goal there and how it extended into the next couple of minutes, I don't know if any punishment that they gave that particular player, I don't know if it's going to be enough. It's not going to be enough for people to feel comfortable about the actions. That video was vicious. It was, and I've seen a lot in the game of hockey. That was vicious.
Yeah, I agree. And many people I talked to said that kid should never play high school. Maybe for sure not high school hockey anymore, but maybe no high school athletics, period. But yes, vicious is probably the key word. But glad to hear that the McClure boy, it seems like people said he didn't play the next game the next night, but he was at the game. So it doesn't sound like, at least as far as we know right now, that, he's going to be okay. All right. Olympics real quick at the end here. Team USA out, eliminated 3-2 in a shootout against Slovakia today, 5-round shootout. US couldn't score. Slovakia does. Of course, they went undefeated in the prelims. They beat China, Germany, and Canada. But 1 goal scored in the shootout, so they're eliminated. Canada also eliminated today. They lost 2-0 to Sweden. Anything on the Olympics?
I used to absolutely love the Olympics. I used to love watching it. I used to love turning on the TV. Even when the television had rabbit ears, you could catch the Olympics when it's going on. You didn't need to have cable. All you needed to do was be able to get those rabbit ears pointed in the right direction, and you could watch the Olympics. Here's my comment. Is the Olympics even going on right now? I don't even know. I haven't seen any of it. To me, it just has not been an interest For whatever reason, it just hasn't been marketed very well. It hasn't been, and the time difference between here and Beijing is you're never going to catch a game at a normal hour. To me, it's like it's not even happening, to be honest with you. I feel bad to say that because there's people that I know, like Brett Larson, that are coaching the Olympic U.S. team. He's one of the coaches of that team. And it's like, awesome for those people to be able to play in it. I want people to be proud to be American and be part of the American Olympic hockey team. But I feel like it's just been really foul, and maybe it's because of everything that's been lingering, with crisis around the world, whether that be COVID, whatever it might be. Maybe that had an effect on the Summer Olympics, before we had to deal with this. But I just feel like this Olympics has been bleh.
Yeah, a couple of comments because first off, that time difference. I remember 4 years ago I think they're in Pyeongchang, wasn't it South Korea, and there was a debate whether the NHL should go on. I remember Don Cherry saying, "Why send them? Don't send them. The time difference, it screws everything up anyway. You're going to know the score in the morning, so what's even the sense of watching the game? Don't send them." And they did not back in 2018. Of course, they had planned on doing it this year. And yes, getting back to like the rabbit ears, and we talked a little bit in the pre-chat about Atlanta back in 1996, and everyone knew who Carl Lewis was. Obviously we got the curlers from around here, and we got some hockey connections. We know some names, but other than that, I really couldn't name. And then I guess the snowboarder, because he's been around forever. I think it's White. I guess I can't, because I didn't even know his name for sure. But yeah, I mean, we've seen that evolution, and millennials want to understand, like I said, antenna TVs, where you got network TV, CBS, ABC, NBC, and the public channel came through your antenna. It was absolutely free. 1996, most of the stuff was still just on network TV. Then as we've the 2000 games, and we moved beyond to 2004, well, then it was NBC, network TV, and then it was the paid channels, which is cable. That took a next step. And now we've got some stuff on network TV, some stuff on cable, and then some stuff on streaming like Peacock with NBC. I noticed it this summer because we had the 2020 games from Tokyo were not played in 2020 because of COVID. So they were played last summer. And I remember thinking, I turned stuff on. There's badminton on at 10 o'clock, like badminton. And just, yeah, I couldn't name an athlete that competed this summer for the USA. So I've had plenty of time to think about it. And I just, I caught a little bit of hockey. I'm catching some of the curling because there's such a local connection with the Chisholm guy and Duluth guys. But I'm with you. It doesn't. I mean, 1996, that was big. Everyone knew who Carl Lewis was in 1996, right? A track athlete. I couldn't name one track athlete that ran this past summer.
No, 100%. I feel like ever since we've struggled with all of the world crisis that's been going on with COVID and the question marks that are going on overseas and what other countries we have to worry about things are going on. I feel like it's just been weird. And I don't know. I haven't even noticed that it's on. I do follow and have a couple of Facebook friends that are involved, with the curling team, like the coach Phil Drobnik, guys like that are part of the curling team, and Schuster and these guys that, vaguely know just by name and have got a chance to watch them curl before. But that part of it, I'll always kind of just check scores and follow that. But otherwise, it's not even fun to watch the hockey because they're not the best players in the world. Best players in the world aren't even there. The NHL guys are over here. They've kept them home. So it's like, how does that feel? Oh, you get to go play for the U.S. Olympic team. Yes, it does. It feels great. You get to play for your country. But just so you know, there's 20 other guys that would have made this team, but the NHL can't play.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And if you have a comment, please put it there in the comment section. We'd like to hear from you. As always, if you want to contact us in a private fashion, Goatsportsmediallc at gmail.com. Like I said, share it out to the hockey faithful. Still got some merch. As a matter of fact, we got some new merch coming. Just go ahead and send a message or email. We can figure out something on merch. Thanks, as always, to Blue Line Brews, bluelinebrews.com. Like I said, going to get cold, get shot coffee, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill. Had a fabulous time there today. Thank you, Michelle. Iron Range Apparel in the Thunderbird Mall, Minnesota hockey camps. Get registered. Iron Range Goalie Academy, and of course, C4 with their new Skittles. Anything else, Reed?
Nope.
All right. Like I said, we're now on Rumble. It's Goat Sports, all one word. If you're a Rumbler, we're also now on Instagram. Check us out there. For Reed Larson, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the Tea with Ms. McGill Show.